Hi, my name is Mia. Welcome to Scrubs and Savings. I'm a 22-year-old new grad nurse documenting how I'm living intentionally, spending joyfully, and giving generously. And today we are going to be doing my September financial reset, where we're going to take a look at August's income, expenses, savings, investments, my progress towards my financial goals, as well as update you guys on my net worth and also review what September's budget is looking like so far. And for those of you that are new to my channel, I use a budgeting software. You need a budget for all of my budgeting needs. I highly recommend it, and I do have a referral link down below if you would like to try it out. And August was an interesting month income-wise because it was a magic month where I got 3 paychecks during the month, which was wonderful as it really helped me get ahead on my financial goals. So most of my income, of course, came from my full-time job, from which I earned $3,562.76, and the rest of my income was from my high-yield savings account interest with Ally Bank, and I earned $28.60 in interest. So my total income for the month of August was $3,591.36. Then as for my expenses, I spent a total of $1,033.38. $486.38 of that was for generosity. The majority of it, or $312.42, was for my normal monthly donation. $92.96, that was me treating my parents out to dinner, treating my dad to lunch at the baseball game we went to, and covering my boyfriend's ticket for the baseball game we're going to this weekend. Then $69.58 was on gifts. Some of that was for finally treating our dads to a baseball game for Father's Day, and it was also one of my friend's birthdays, and I just got her a pair of high quality compression socks, as she's also a new grad nurse, and it really does help with our leg pain and feet pain after a shift. And then lastly, I spent $11.42 on small acts of kindness. I just donated like $1 to a local football team, and I'm also a huge fan of Smosh here on YouTube, and one of their cast members, whose name is Keith, is battling cancer, and I just donated $10 to help pay for his medical treatments. Then I spent $480.43 on my fun spending. The majority of that was finally purchasing the 20 class pack at the yoga studio I go to, and $15 of that was to go to yoga in the park. Then I spent $82.30 on a date night. Then I spent $76.44 on a couple of baseball tickets, as well as the ballpark food that I purchased for myself. Then I spent $57.41 on eating out. That was my portion of the dinner I went to with my parents. And the other one, and I kind of forgot that this happened during this month, but it was the breakfast that Nick and I had after we got to see Hamilton. And to be honest, guys, I cried several times during the show because I have never seen it live before. And then lastly, this 28 cents was from picking up a couple of Starbucks coffees, and the reason why it was only 28 cents was because I used the $10 credit that comes with one of my credit cards, so it covered $10 of that, and I just paid the 28 extra cents, which was totally worth it. It was kind of a desperation coffee, if I'm being honest. And then I spent $43.38 on my YouTube channel. $10.39 was on a little Notion template, $15 was for Canva, and $17.99 was for Epidemic Sound. And lastly, I spent $14.99 on my gym membership, and then $8.20 for travel, and that was just getting a cup of coffee while I was spending time with my cousins. And as for how I'm feeling about my spending, I feel really good about how I spent my money this month. I really feel like it was in line with my values, and I couldn't be more happy about that. And I'll kind of talk about what's coming up in September in a moment. Then as for my savings, I saved $451.50 for my apartment fund, $397.50 for my emergency fund, $200 for my wedding fund, and let me see how much I saved for travel. I think it was $250 in total. I think something that I've really started to value was seeing live musical theater after I saw Hamilton, and I'm really hoping to go on another weekend trip across the state to see the Book of Mormon, which I have never seen in person before. And if I'm being honest, I haven't seen a lot of live theater just because it's a little more on the expensive side, and I really want to take advantage of this high income, low expense time to really enjoy the money that I'm working so hard for. And then I made a lot of progress towards my 2025 financial goals. Obviously, the extra income helped. My first goal is to make $40,000 in gross income, and in the month of August, I made $8,642.67 in gross income. So far this year, I've made $30,292.68, and I am 75.7% of the way to my goal. So I'm feeling pretty confident that I'm going to exceed this goal, which is always lovely to see. Then I have already maxed out my Roth IRA this year. For my apartment fund, my goal is to have $3,000 saved, and in the month of August I saved $451.50, so I'm only 46.3% of the way to my goal. But I think if I continue saving the amount that I am saving, I will reach $3,000 in my apartment fund, and I really would like to have $5,000 saved by spring of next year so that my partner and I have a total of $10,000 once we move out. My fourth goal was to have $7,500 in my income replacement or emergency fund. We already exceeded that goal in May, but of course I'm going to continue contributing money to it so that I have $12,000 by the time I move out. So like I said before, in August I saved $397.50 for that. So the total that I have in my emergency fund is $8,820. My second to last goal was to reach a $100,000 net worth, and it's kind of wild to say this. If I told myself 9 months ago that I would be close to reaching this goal by the end of this year, my mind would have been blown. So in the month of August, my net worth increased by $7,141.54. So what this pie chart is tracking is basically how much money I needed to increase my net worth by to reach 100,000. So I'm at 84% of the way to my goal, and I think it may be possible for me to even exceed this goal by the end of the year, which is absolutely incredible to say. And I'm just so grateful for the many graduation gifts that have allowed me to get even close to reaching $100,000. And lastly, I really wanted to pay off my car loan by the end of this year, and I was able to achieve that in July. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video, but I also like seeing the percentage of my money that I'm putting towards my needs, wants, savings, and investments. And in the month of August, I put 17.6% of my money towards wants, 23.8% towards savings, and a whopping 58.5% or $3,433.65 into my investments. Basically, all of that being through my company's 403b. And of course, it's a little higher than normal because it was a 3-paycheck month, and I contribute 40% of my paycheck to my 403b. So far this year, I've put 16.8% of my money towards wants, 31% towards savings, 28.5% towards investments, and 23.7% towards debt. And I'm really happy with this split, and I really am hoping by the end of this year that most of my money will have gone to investments and savings rather than my debt, and we can just get even closer to retiring early, which is one of my biggest financial goals. And lastly, probably my most favorite thing to track is my net worth every month. So at the end of August, I had $95,546.85 in assets. Then for total debts, $1,702.87 was on my credit cards at the end of the month. Even though I'm going into September with money on my credit cards, I don't really see it as debt because I always pay my cards off once the statement balance is due. So my total net worth at the end of August was $93,843.98, which is absolutely not what I was expecting to be at this point of the year. So I'm just really happy with how I've been putting my money towards debt, saving and investing, while also still enjoying the money that I earn. And I also just like to see the breakdown of my assets. So now 16.4% of my money is in cash, 26.9% is in physical assets, so again, my car and my land, 56.6% is in retirement accounts, and lastly, 0.1% is in a regular investment account, which I kind of have as a little down payment fund. And lastly, I'm going to go through what my September budget is looking like. So all of my monthly expenses are funded, as well as my non-monthly but expected expenses like car maintenance. Then for my fun money categories, all of the money is assigned to how much I want to spend during the month. So for gifts, I set aside $65. So I have $155 available to spend on gifts. I only have one friend's birthday this month, but Nick and I's anniversary is coming up, so we might get each other something for our anniversary. That is just something that we'll have to talk about later. Then for dining out, I don't have any particular plans to dine out, but who knows? So $50 is probably going to be enough for whatever I decide to do. Then for coffee, this isn't a category I normally fund every month, but this month I kind of made a couple of coffee plans with my friends, so I set aside $10 for each of those. And then for hosting, I set aside $10 for this month because my plan on one of my friend activities is just purchasing one of those cozy coloring books and just sharing it with my friends. Now, I think that the way I budget is a little different than the traditional form of budgeting, where I want to set aside X amount of dollars for this category during the month, and I can't spend more than that. But in the way that I budget, it's pretty flexible. For example, if I wanted to spend a little more money on dining out than I was planning, that's completely okay, but I would have to kind of move money to cover the extra dining out spend. So let's say I'm gonna go over my $50 of eating out spend. I would likely move money over from my entertainment category to cover that spend. I don't expect to do that this month, but that's how I plan out my spending during every month. And even though I'm technically overspending on what I planned on spending at the beginning of the month, I still was able to cover it with the money that I have available for all of my fun money categories. And then I didn't fund my activities category this month. Normally that would be like going bowling with my friends, going ice skating, stuff like that, but really the only thing I'm going to do with my friends is color. And I decided that I wanted to pay for that as the person who invited everyone to go do that. Then I'm going to set aside $41.50 every month for yoga, just so that I can purchase another class pack by the time that I'm probably going to run out of classes, so in February of next year. Then I set aside $30 for my beauty category, and I have $60 available to spend in that category, and I'm definitely going to be spending from that category. I'm running out of sunscreen. I need to get new tweezers, just kind of restock on a couple of things, and $60 should be enough for that. And I want to keep building the money that's in this category because I think I want to get a haircut sometime soon. I didn't fund my little entertainment category. Mainly this would be used for like renting a movie or going out to see movies, but I don't really have plans to do any of that this month, so I kind of shifted that money over to my entertainment category because not only am I going to a baseball game this month, but Nick and I might go to a concert in October, and I would like to have enough money to buy those tickets once we figure out if we are both able to go. Then I set aside $25 for my clothing category, so I have $75 to spend on clothing if I would like to. And I don't really spend money in the clothing category, but I kind of want to get more cute stuff for when I'm working at the hospital. So I think I might purchase like cute little quarter zip that says labor and delivery, but I'm going to keep thinking about it if I really want to buy it or if I want to build up that money to purchase a nice sweater during the fall. And maybe I might move some money from another category, and I might just move money from another category in the future to purchase a sweater. So I'm gonna have to think about what I want to do with that. Then for date night, I set aside $50. We don't have any official dates planned for September, but of course I want to spend quality time with my partner, so I have $50 for that. And then for knickknacks or just little cute things, I set aside $20. So I only have $20.63 if I wanted to spend money on getting something cute. And then for my YouTube channel, I set aside $17.01 for anything that I want to purchase. And I'm actually receiving my first YouTube paycheck in the middle of September, and it'll be about $105. So I'm really thinking about how I want to use my extra YouTube income whenever I receive it. I know that I'd want to put that money towards my YouTube channel expenses, but I'm also thinking about, do I want to set aside some of that money for fun spending? And if I want to set aside some of that money for either investing in my brokerage account or setting aside money for a future down payment. So that is definitely something that I'm going to think on throughout the month as well. And of course, I'll keep you guys updated on what my plan is with that. And lastly, as for my savings goals, I already have $397.50 set aside for my emergency fund, $451.50 for my house fund, $451.50 for my apartment fund, $250 for our spring trip to New Orleans, and lastly, I have $161.01 saved for my wedding fund. So to finish out my September budget, I just need to save an extra $38.99 to reach my goal of setting aside $200 every month for my wedding. So before I sign out for this financial reset, I kind of wanted to talk through a couple of financial things that I've been thinking about recently. I definitely do need to do a monthly life reset soon because there has just been so much going on that I haven't been able to sit down and talk about with you guys. So look out for a video like that. My schedule is kind of weird at this point in time, but I definitely want to give you guys an update because of course life changes causes financial changes, and one change that is happening soon is that I'm going to start working on night shift full-time in the next couple of weeks. So by then I will be off orientation, and night shift for a lot of nurses involves working from 7 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. So obviously that's the complete opposite of my current schedule, and of course that will affect how I navigate my days off. But the main thing I'm contemplating is if once Nick and I move out to our first apartment together, is if it makes sense for us to have a 2-bedroom apartment. Now, I know, of course, that that's going to cost more than just sharing a 1-bedroom apartment, but I'm really thinking about how working nights and living with someone who doesn't live on that schedule, because, of course, and the most important thing that I'm thinking about is how that's going to affect the quality of my sleep. And so I think it might be a good idea for us to have separate bedrooms just so that I can have my own space when I am sleeping throughout the day, because I definitely don't want Nick to have to sneak around our apartment to not disturb my sleep. And of course, the other way around when I'm staying up late at night. And I definitely think I'm okay with spending extra money just to improve the quality of both of our lives. And I actually talked about it with Nick today, and this is going to be an ongoing conversation for the both of us before we move out, because I don't really want to force Nick to have to pay extra money just because I want a second bedroom. But if he decides that it really makes sense for the both of us, then that will definitely impact how my finances are going to look once we move out, because that would just be more rent that we would have to pay. Another thing that I'm thinking about regarding moving out is how I want to prepare for the first month we move out, because of course there's going to be a lot of startup expenses because both of us live at home with our parents and we don't have basically anything that we need to live on our own. And what I'm considering doing while I'm still living at home at the beginning of 2026 is kind of to build up some money every month to get 1 month ahead on my expenses before I move out. And also just build up some extra startup funds for our groceries, household goods, and whatever we need to live on our own. So I think that is something that I'm going to go ahead and do once I do my budget reset for 2026. And I'm just curious as to how you guys would approach the 2-bedroom thing, especially if you are someone who works night shifts and has a partner living in the same home. Do you guys have separate bedrooms, or do you guys have 1 bedroom and just are able to figure out how to be respectful of each other's schedules, and how you would prepare for moving out of your parents' house for the first time? So I think that is it for my September financial reset. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I would love to know what you are looking forward to in the month of September. Bye guys.